Today, we're keeping a close eye on breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade, saying there's no longer a federal constitutional right to have an abortion. States now have the choice to ban or allow this procedure, and 13 states have so-called trigger laws to begin restrictions immediately or within a month. Last month's leak of the court's draft opinion sent shockwaves across the country, sparked protests on both sides of this debate, also cast a shadow over the nation's highest court, which immediately opened an investigation to find the source of that leak. Our experts are ready to dive deeper into what this all means. NewsNation's Chris Steyerwalt is here to talk about the integrity of the court's ruling. But first, let's talk about the political fallout from today's decision with national politics reporter Julia Manchester from our partners at The Hill. Julia, is this going to dominate the messaging really on both sides as we get even closer to Election Day?
Well, Nichole, it's certainly dominating messaging on both sides, especially the Democratic side today. You are seeing Democrats up and down the ballot, starting with Senate, going all the way to state and local races, talking about the need to elect Democrats in order to codify Roe v. Wade in states, especially in those states that you mentioned where there are trigger laws in place, or there are states with other laws on the book that could go into effect eventually without Roe v. Wade that would restrict abortion. I'm talking about Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, for example, major midterm battleground states where you're going to see these down ballot races really playing a key role. Talking to Republicans today, though, it's been more of a mixed response. Of course, there is the very anti-abortion wing of the Republican Party, with those cultural activists very much praising today's ruling as 40 years in the making. However, there are other establishment Republicans who are acknowledging the ruling, but at the same time saying that they want to be laser focused on inflation, crime, and the situation at the southern border. That's what they say they believe the election will be decided on.
Well, Julia, you mentioned that the president, calling on Congress to codify Roe. Do Democrats even have the votes to do that?
Right now they don't, and that's why you're seeing a lot of Democratic Senate candidates in particular, Nichole, calling for the elimination of the filibuster in the Senate. So expect to hear more conversation, more debate on the filibuster, maybe even on the campaign trail, with a lot of these Democratic candidates calling for that.
Well, along those lines, Julia, is there support in Congress to pack the court?
That's a good question. I don't think right now, at this moment, there is support in Congress to pack the court. I've asked a number of campaigns, Democratic campaigns throughout this cycle, about the prospect of them speaking out about packing the court. And it doesn't seem like a lot of candidates are willing to go that far yet. Instead, they're talking about the elimination of the filibuster in an effort to codify Roe v. Wade. That being said, though, I think you're going to see Democrats very much trying to come up with some potential solutions to the overturning of Roe v. Wade and a way they can make an impact on the Supreme Court. Remember, President Trump and Republicans, going back to 2016, were very successful at campaigning on the promise of appointing conservative judges and justices to courts across the country, including the Supreme Court. That's something Democrats have not been as good at. So they're trying, I think, right now to really recalibrate their messaging on that, and it has yet to be seen whether that includes packing the court.
All right, Julia Manchester from our partners at The Hill, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.